Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision.
Awesome. So welcome back, you guys. I have a really exciting podcast today. So Hadley Nightingale is with us. We had a great time chatting in the pre-call. So I think that this one's going to be really fun. He is the CEO of New Zealand Property Buyers, founded in 2020. Through his leadership, the business has scaled rapidly in just 5 years. Today, NZPB, a tongue twister, manages hundreds of properties and has helped hundreds of clients successfully secure investment properties across New Zealand, operating with a remote team across New Zealand and Southeast Asia. New Zealand Property Buyers provides a fully integrated end-to-end service for busy investors, from property acquisition and renovation and compliance project management through to ongoing property management. NZPB manages the entire process. Their role is to oversee the negotiation, strategy, and execution, enabling clients to invest with confidence while avoiding costly mistakes. So welcome, Hadley. It's so great to have you.
Awesome, Carly. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation and great to be here.
Yeah, me too. So I know when we first started talking, I know this wasn't something that you thought, hey, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build a huge business. It was actually an investment in yourself. So what did you see happening that helped you to realize that buyers had no real representation out there?
Yeah, I think a big part of it's been or at the time was the people that I was hanging out with were from the UK, from the US, where they were like, hey, look, we've got these buyers agents that go and help people and purchase property for them and with them and represent them. And then it was really a case of like going to open homes, seeing people there that reveal their cards. There's no representation there. And sort of as I tend to say, that if you get yourself into legal problems, the first sort of person you go and talk to is a lawyer. If you get yourself into tax problems, the first thing you go and see is an accountant. But there was really no one that was going to help you out from a real estate perspective. And there was sort of no place to go for advice other than family, and generally they love you, but at the same time they've bought one property in their life. They don't generally tend to be experienced property investors who are in the market. So that's where the gap really sort of opened up for me, and being a bit of an opportunist that I am, went, well, look, there's more deals here than I know what to do with. There's an opportunity here, and it's just really about figuring out how we can do things rather than why we can't.
Okay. And I'm curious too, because when we talk about representation, what does representation for these buyers look like for you? What are the gaps that you're filling? So it's like you said, if you have a legal problem, you go to a lawyer. What are they now coming to you for?
It's more so around the strategic side of things. So, where is it that you are at the moment? Where do you want to go? And then what do we need to buy you to get you there? And what opportunities that are right in front of you do you miss every day because you're not in the market? You can't see things. You haven't got the natural intuitive sort of take on things as well. And your ability to see opportunities when you're not in the market every day is tough, right? So the gap that we fill for people is the time, because it takes forever to scroll through, like Trade Me for us or Zillow for you guys. Talking to real estate agents all day, and it really comes down to the best deals are through networks rather than through the internet or talking to an agent every now and then. You've got to be on the phone. You've got to be talking to people all the time.
Amazing. And I'm curious, when you first started, did you have this network, or was it something that you basically started from scratch to establish?
Yeah, this has all been started from scratch. So by the buyer's agency thing in New Zealand has been like a non-existent. So Australia, there are the UK, common, obviously in the States, a little bit different, where seller pays for that, although I've been talking to some people recently that said that's slowly changing. So New Zealand was non-existent. Like initially when we started, people going, well, why would we pay you when we can just go and do this ourselves? So that was sort of the start of it. And then it's just been an education piece thereafter. So yeah, it was sort of started from there.
Okay, I'm curious too, because even that education dynamic, what does educating the market look like for your specific demographic to help them understand the services, the time they save, energy, sometimes even money.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's self-education. So the people that we generally work with are time poor people. They've got professional jobs that don't actually allow them to go and do the things they need to go and do, or they've spent all their weekends for the last 3 or 4 months going out trying to find property. And it's a self-education process from that perspective when people are like, look, I can go out, I can do this myself, I can get it done. And then the realization comes of I've missed a whole lot of time with my kids because I'm either going out doing this, trying to do my job, plus the property stuff, and I'm just not getting anywhere. Although I know that I need to do something because that's going to set me up for retirement. Um, and so, yeah, it's more so that side of things. And then when we step in more so, it's around the education around the strategy. Uh, there's a number of people that come to us with the philosophy of, I need to buy 50 or 100 houses. Whereas we're more about, look, what can we get for you that's quality? And we're better to have 10 that perform exceptionally well than 50 that are very average, because as soon as you have 50, it turns into another full-time job where you've got maintenance all the time and stuff that's always happening, so it's always distracting you. And the other thing that we do too is we always try and look at things from like a 2 or 3 stage perspective. Is that whatever we're buying today doesn't necessarily need to be the end result. Is it what does stage two look like? Let's buy something boring that we can stack rather than something that's sexy, for lack of a better term, that is potentially going to have a whole lot of drama. It might have some upside, but the downside's also there as well. And it's also steering people down the route of, but we're here for the long term. We're not here for just that quick sugar hit.
Yeah, I love that you're sharing that, right? I think, it was a while back, but something that just seemed like common sense, but we don't learn. Well, someone was like, if you're not making more out of a property than you get out of the S&P 500, he's like, why are you working? And I don't know why it never occurred to me, but I was like, how did this not like hit my brain? And so it's like when you're saying it's the quality versus the quantity, and then it's also looking at, the structure of how much time, energy does it take. It's something that's really important to look at, because I know that some people can invest in properties and make significantly less than they would be making on just plopping it into a safe
Yeah.
investment and letting it sit.
Yeah, it's crazy that people look blindly at the stuff, and just going back to the advice piece before, that it's like, you go to the share market, you go and talk to a financial advisor about, hey, look, where should I put my money? And then whereas with this, it's you go to a family barbecue and your drunk uncle decides he's going to tell you about the best place to invest, and hasn't, but you're not talking about 10 or 15 grand. You're talking about, in New Zealand anyway, hundreds of thousands of dollars, that you're going to throw at something, and it's a case of, Uncle Joe said this is a great investment, so I'm going to go for it. And a lot of the time, when the market doesn't go the right way, is that you're trapped there, and you don't have the same liquidity as what you've got with the stock market either. So those choices become super important, that you've got to be buying the right stuff. If the market drops 20%, like it has in some places in New Zealand in the last sort of 24 months, is that you can't just hit the sell button. You pull your money out and go, there's 20%. It's like, well, it's costing me X number of dollars a month. I've just got to wade this out until I get myself to a point where, we're back to break even. And I've got firsthand experience of that. So learned that in the first property is the cost of not quite getting things right.
Yeah. No, I think definitely a lot of people have that lesson. So it's nice to have a little bit of the insight before we have to go through things
Yeah,
like that sometimes. And I'm
100%.
I'm curious, so when you started your business as well, I know that it was something where you got a really great opportunity and you jumped on it, where it was someone I believe offered you about 30 properties to manage. And that was when you just started. So that was a pretty big leap. Like tell me like how you were able to jump into that, how you're able to manage it, create that to such a degree, because it's a huge opportunity, but also a big leap pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100%. So at the time, we had the buyer's agency side of things, but we didn't have any additional services to that as well. And so one of our clients who we've bought a number of properties for, that's based in the Middle East, uh, he said to me, look, I've got all these properties that are scattered all over the place. It would be really great if we could just put them into one area or into one property management company. Is that something you reckon you could do? And me being me, without thinking it through, just said, "Yep, that's cool. Let's go. Well, I can take over your properties tomorrow." And if it wasn't for my wife, um, the whole thing would just be a sort of complete disaster. So I tend to come up with the ideas and then go home and tell my wife, "Hey, look, this is what we're gonna do." And she had a few choice words when I said, "Hey, look, we're now property managers," and she went, "Well, there's only you and half the time, and no one else. What are you gonna do?" Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So very lucky that I come up with the idea, she executes, and that's sort of how we got there. But I think the opportunity that we got through this particular guy has been extremely helpful, and it's just set us up. And his philosophy at the time was, well, if you're gonna buy me properties and then you're gonna manage them, um, you've got to be pretty confident in what you deliver. I won't say exactly what he said, but he said you've got to be pretty confident in what you're delivering if that's the case.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am your wife in this situation.
Right.
You are my husband. And I can't tell you how many times he's come to me and said, I have this idea, so I did this and I already sold this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how much time do I have? What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then my brain and even the other day he did it and he's planned something and I was like, you realize, and I put all the back in and I'm like super annoyed and I'm like, oh, okay, brainstorm time. And my brain starts to go into how can we do this? How can we fix it? How can we
Yeah,
create it? What are the action plans? What are the action steps? So he's the idea guy. And I'm like, how do I put this into action right now? And I
yeah,
have this
yeah.
much time. And what do I need today? And what do I need tomorrow? So I could definitely feel for your wife.
Yeah, 100%. And the same thing happened with the project management side of things too. Was we got the property management up and running, and then the same guy goes, "Oh, we just bought him another 7 doors," and he was like, "Oh, I've got this project. Do you guys want to manage it?" But yeah, 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 yeah. We'll manage it. We'll sort it out. Now, guess what? We're project managers now as well, and then exactly the same thing. She's like, "You've," I was like, "Yeah, I've sold it to him. We're good. This is what we're gonna do." And she's like, "Oh, how are we going to put this into place? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine." So yeah, thankfully she's the executor and the planner on this.
That's awesome. And I'm curious, like when you guys first started working, did you first start working together or was that something that developed over time?
That's something that developed over time. So I think it's been an interesting journey in terms of the working together piece. Um, because we're both quite alpha people, I suppose, and there's like my opinion's right, no, my opinion's right. That's taken a bit of fleshing out and like, look here, look, this is what you look after, this is what I look after. You stay in your lane, I stay in mine. I mean, it happened this morning with a renovation project that we're doing, where she was like, "Look, I just need you to ring. I know a guy that can go and do this, and we'll get it sorted." And then the guy rang me this morning, and I'm like, "Right, cool, yeah, I think we can do that today." And she's like, "No, no, hang on, hang on. You're getting I'm either you take care of the whole thing, or I'll take care of it, but we can't sort of
Yeah.
dabble into each other's areas." So I think that's been the important lesson with that. Is like you have your lane and you've just got to stick to it, because as soon as like one person starts jumping in the other person's stuff, it gets messy, and it gets messy for team too, because they're like, well, who do I report to? One person's telling me one thing, the other person's telling me the other. You guys talk together at night about what you're going to do, then you change your mind the next day. So that's been one of the things that we've had to sort of iron out of the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, I actually think that's really great advice because it's like you do hear a lot of couples who they work really well together and they kind of go back and forth. But I too, me and my husband, we both have that dynamic where we're both more alpha, and it's like
Yeah.
it's very hard to dive in and do things together. So instead, we have separated things, and that works like the best. And when he's doing something, I'm like, you just do it. That's your project. I'll just step in for like a little bit. Otherwise, it's like back and forth.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Or I thought you were doing that. No, I'm doing that. I don't like that. We'll go like this. And I think one person's just really got to take the lead, and just go, right, cool. You're in charge of this. The outcome's on you, not me. If you need some help, let me know. But I just don't want to get too involved because it'll just create confusion and a cyclone as one of us comes
Yeah.
through.
Absolutely. And I'm curious too, because you've been the type, it's like, okay, we have this opportunity. We're going to dive right in. So how do you keep your credibility with your clients while you're actually, it's almost like you're building the plane midair, right? So
Yeah.
that's how are you actually keeping that credibility as all that's going on?
I think a big part of it is just being upfront. Like
Mhm.
the guy that gave us the opportunity said to me at the time, is like, right, I know you guys haven't done this before. The results you've delivered for me are fantastic. Hence the reason why I want to give you this opportunity. But we'll work together to get this right. And I think that's the really important piece is there's the he keeps saying to me, you under promise and over deliver on everything you do. And so I think that's the other part of it as well, is just being okay with saying to people, hey, look, this is the first time we've done it. Like
Mhm.
we've got 10 other clients that we've done this for. We've got 5 other clients that we've done this for. You're the first client we're doing this for. Um, we're going to do this the best we possibly can. We're going to make some mistakes. When we make
Mhm.
the mistakes, we're going to be the ones to say, hey, look, it was us. We got this wrong. And then move forward from that and just with that relationship. And as that happens, as your processes get better, you get better people, and then your standards and that lift significantly. Our level of service at the start, I wouldn't say was horrific, but it wasn't great.
Mhm.
But as we've gone over time, as we've grown, as our systems have got better, our people have got better, and then the delivery of service has also improved at the same time there. But I also think in terms of expectation and getting things off the ground, where people get stuck is that they want perfection from day
Mhm.
one, and that they're not willing to sit there and have that honest conversation with someone at the
Mhm.
start and say, well, hey, look, we're not great at this. We're just getting started. We'll charge you a bit less. But just to let you know, if we make some mistakes, we'll fix them as quickly as we can. And I think that's the key bit where people stall is they get opportunity, they go, it's not going to be perfect, so I'm not going to do it. And then
Mhm.
opportunity passes them by. It's the same with houses. People want the perfect house, but the perfect house never comes along. That's
Yeah.
the other issue.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really great point. And I love that dynamic because it's like, I think people think that you have to be perfect and no one's going to invest in you unless you do have that level of perfection, where it's like you're showing us, it's like, no, actually, I was just transparent. They wanted it, they wanted the opportunity, and as long as you were willing to work with them, it was something that they were willing to invest in. Yeah, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think one of the greatest things that I learned early on when I was working for a mining company was is that I had a project manager that at the time said to me, if anything goes wrong, you just need to put your hand up and say, hey, look, I got this wrong,
Hmm.
regardless of how big or small it was, even if it wasn't 100% you, if you're involved in it, it's like, hey, look, I got this wrong. Because as soon as that happens, no one can fire up at you and get really that angry. He's like, they'll get really angry if you deny it's you and then they find out a month later. Sorry, deny it was you and then a month later they find out it was.
Hmm.
But if something goes wrong, something doesn't go to plan, hey, look, that was me. I got this wrong. This is how I'm going to fix it. Then it takes so much of the steam out of people that they're like, oh, okay, he's a normal guy. He's
Hmm.
he's admitted he's wrong. He's taken some responsibility. That's cool, move on. I think as soon as the responsibility taking's gone, then it's really easy to get mad at someone.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very true. No, I love that. And I'm curious too, because it sounds like that's really important to you. So is that something that you even apply into your work culture, with your own employees, with the people? Yep. And how does that translate into kind of day to day with you guys?
Yeah, I think with us, because everyone's remote, we don't all come to the office. The
Mhm.
responsibility and the ownership thing is really, really important. That if we've got people that don't take responsibility for what they do, then they're not with us. That's really the long and the short. If you don't take
Mhm.
ownership for your role and your outcomes, then we're not the team for you. There's probably some other great places, or you'll do really well in some other places. But for us, the key thing is you take ownership of what you do. You're responsible for what you do. If there's a mistake, you're the one that comes to me and says, "Hey, look, I got this wrong. This is what I've done to fix it," or "Here's the solution. Can you help me out?" Not a problem. It's when I find the mistake, or a client rings me and says, "Hey, look, this has just happened. Why has this happened?" Um, as an example, the other week we had like some billing stuff that happened. A guy got charged more than what he should have, but we rang the client before the invoices got sent out with the property management and said, "Hey, look, we've overcharged you for this, this, and this. When you first or when your statement comes out, it will reflect that it's wrong, but we've reversed it. I just wanted to let you know that it's happened. We've reversed it. We've fixed it, but on your statement, it doesn't look right." And he was like, "Amazing, thanks. I really appreciate that." I don't think his reaction would have quite been the same if we just sent the statement out and then he'd come back to us and said, "Hey, look, why have you guys charged me $3,500 too much? This doesn't
Yeah.
quite read right." So I think that's the other thing around the responsibility and the ownership side of things as well.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's great too, because it's sometimes it's like if you're not catching those things on the other side, for the person who sometimes is checking on that, I gotta look into it, I gotta check on it. All of a sudden I'm a couple hours deep, I'm going back and forth, and I'm annoyed, you know? And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's like if someone catches it beforehand, it's like, oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Great. Check mark. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And just catching those things early and having those check marks in place is really, really handy.
Yeah, and I'm curious because you have a remote team, right? Was that something that is implemented just because of the location of individuals, or is it just the work culture and the dynamic that you guys chose to have?
I think it's work culture and dynamic that we chose to have. I mean, a big part of it's with our remote team. Like, I don't sit there and supervise. Well, none of our employees. We don't have screen recordings and things like that. We've got when we need to be there. We've got when we need to check out. But everything's just done on results. I don't monitor people 24 hours a day. But the thing with it when we operate like we do is that when you're not performing, it stands out.
Hmm.
Um, it becomes really, really obvious in the team when you've got someone who's not up to the standard that they need to be. And it's a case of, the really high performers in the team get annoyed with the people that don't perform. And so it really comes down to a thing of like, do I want to keep our high performing people, or do I want to keep the low performers? And if the low performers go, the high performers are happy because they just, if we have to take on a little bit more work for a couple of weeks, then we do that till we get a replacement. Um, but it's just about that thing of that's just the culture we have. And if you don't
Hmm.
fit in here, that's fine. As I say, there'll be another place for you where you'll probably excel.
Hmm.
But here's just not that place.
Okay. I'm curious too, because even with the low performers, how do you know with a low performer whether you want to like coach them up, maybe switch up what they're doing, or let them go?
Normally, so like we're pretty ruthless in the first 90
Hmm.
days.
Okay.
You generally tend to know within a couple of weeks whether someone's going to make it or not. And someone who is a lower performer is going to do their best in the first 2 weeks, and then things are going to drop off thereafter. Um, for me, if you've got a gut feeling that someone's not going to make it, they're not going to make it is really the reality of things. But the other flip side of that too is that I'm a firm believer in process them people. So if there's mistakes that get made and mistakes happen, is it have we got a process in place? We've got a
Hmm.
process in place, great. Why is the person not following the process? Hey, Sally, can you show me where you've got the process up, the checklist? Are you following that to get a result? You're not following that. Okay, cool. We need to go and follow the process.
Hmm.
Then the same mistake happens again. Well, it's not a process problem because we've got the process in place. We've then got a person problem.
Hmm.
And then it comes to how do we coach them and get them up to speed. And then if they still can't do that, then as I said before, it sounds really ruthless, but we're
Oh
not the
no.
we're not the place for them.
Yeah.
And so I think if you run things on that, um, then because then everyone knows where they stand. There's no
Mhm.
there's no gray areas, as opposed to. And I've been caught out with this before. Oh, they'll come right. They'll be good. They'll come right. We'll get things sorted for them. and they just don't. And it just creates more headache than having a hard conversation at the start to go,
Mhm.
hey, look, we've given this a go. Happy to give you a reference. Happy to do whatever we need to do. Um, but this place isn't quite the right place for you.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's ruthless at all. I think it's wisdom to come up with a time frame that people are willing to give someone the opportunity to get coached up and kind of work into that position. And sure, fun story. One of the clients I'm working with, we were going over the cost of holding on to someone for a year that they were trying to coach up, and it was in the seven figures.
Yeah.
And it was, I just asked them just bluntly straight up, I said, okay. I said, is that a seven-figure friend for you? Does that cost you seven figures? And he just says, absolutely not. And I was like, so when are you going to let him go? And he's like, tomorrow. And I'm like, great. And how long is it going to take next time? I was like, what actual new time frame? And he goes, I don't want to go more than a couple months next time. So it's really interesting because it's like we say it's ruthless, but then you look at the cost behind it and it's like, at what cost?
Yeah.
So even having a policy and procedure in place to let go of and remove these types of individuals can be a quite time-saving, money-saving effort in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I think flow on effect to the rest of the team members as well. Like you get feedback from them, and they generally tend to say like, so and so's left. Um, the culture feels better now. The team feels
Yes.
better now. One bad apple ruins the bunch. Is really what it comes down to. And so you have someone that's not at the same level as everyone else, or their attitude's not the same. Because I think that's another one of the big things that we try and do is like weekly coaching, and you can see it on the calls that we have where we've got our weekly training stuff that we do,
Mm.
and you see the people that are engaged and the people that aren't. And you go, well, how much longer are the people that aren't engaged? How much longer have they got here? Because or you ask them a question like, what's your personal, every week we do personal professional wins. And you see the people that roll their eyes every week for this and go, well, we haven't got them at the moment, but we used to.
Mhm.
Everyone's engaged and like, yep, cool. We know that we've got to do this. We've had people in the past that have rolled their eyes at that. And you go, well, that's just not who we are. And so I think it's not so much the cost in terms of, well, there's the actual cost, but there's also the energetic cost to everyone else going,
Mhm.
well, we're carrying this person, or this person's not quite a fit because they just don't have that same energetic charge as to what we do.
Yeah, it's 100% accurate too. It's interesting because with the teams where people like that stay in for a long time, you start to get new hires that don't fit the culture. And then if they're in there for too long, once you remove them from the system, you now just don't take one person out. You're usually losing a group of people. It can be quite difficult as opposed to like, hey, this doesn't fit. We take them out. Culture go back to the way like it is meant to be, the way that we actually built it. And it is, again, I don't think it's ruthless. I think it's wisdom.
Yeah,
Nice, quick,
yeah,
rip off the Band-Aid.
yeah, 100%. And the other thing with like our hiring process too is that our team are actively involved in that. So anyone new that we bring on, it's not just me that interviews them, it's also the team. And if the team that they're working with says, hey, look, I don't think this person's going to be right for us, then that's good enough for me, unless there's something extremely extraordinary that they've missed. But generally, they're very, very good judges of character to be like, hey, look, I don't think we're going to get on with this person. I don't think this person's the right fit for us. And that also too, from the ownership perspective as well, is that if we bring someone on that's not right, because some people interview really, really well, and the team have been involved in it, they're then okay to come back and say, hey, look, we've been working with so and so for the last month. We thought they were really good. Turns out these are the issues that we're having. And they've also got that buy-in as well, as opposed to, hey, you employed Johnny, so it's not my place to say anything.
Yeah, no, that's actually great. I love that. So it's like giving them the buy-in gives them the permission and almost more freedom to say, hey, this isn't working out. We need someone else. That's very cool.
100%.
Yeah, that's cool. And so I'm curious, so, we're talking about all this dynamic of kind of what the business looks like today, but I know that it took a lot to get it where it was. It was
Yeah.
like very difficult, lots of personal financial pressure. So what does it look like behind the scenes before you got to this point?
Before we got to this point was like when I decided we were going to start the business was sort of 2020, COVID time. I quit my job, or I'd quit the agency that I was working for, and a guy said to me, "Look, if you're going to go and start your own agency, go and buy one. Don't start your own." And me being me went, oh, I haven't got the money to go and buy one, so I'll just go and start my own because that's surely got to be cheaper. Turns out I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, as the guy said to me. So started that. Also going through a divorce at the same time, which 7 years later is still somehow going through the court system. So there's that distraction that happens as well. It took 3 years to get certainty with what was happening with my daughter. Um, and things like that. So that was like the hardest part is that the kid stuff having, kid been taken off you while trying to build a business. And then once the kid stuff was sorted out, then the money part isn't as bad because you can always make more money. Obviously, you can't get another kid. So that was probably the biggest battle is like trying to balance those two things. Money for lawyers. How do we keeping our cash flow afloat and keep money coming in? How do we pay our staff? And then I'm dipping into my own pocket well, not that there was a lot in there, just to try and keep the lights on. And it's just really been a thing of, like Tony Robbins said, is like when you hit a wall, just take another step, we'll get there, we'll take another step. And it's been interesting, the part that obviously people don't see, and when people are in the starting phases, you see the YouTube and the Instagram reels of, oh look, I made $1 million in my first 10 months. And you think that's normal in reality. Or I made 10 million in my first 3 years. Unless you've got some really good systems, unless you've got money behind you, I'd say good luck to that. Because you don't know what you don't know at the time, and the revenue that we're at now and the problems that we're solving for. If I got these in year one, I don't know what it'd be, a big blabbering mess. As opposed now to, you grow with the business, you've got steady growth over that time. And then your ability to solve problems gets better. Your ability to deal with those problems get better. And what you think's significant in year one is just a really, really minor inconvenience 4 years later. But what a medium problem is now would have sunk us back then. So I think it's that growth over time too that really helps, and that resilience is the key thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's really great advice. I think it also is taking it seriously as well, that it doesn't happen overnight. And you're completely accurate. If someone did have that big of a win, I would really ask myself the question, like, what does it look like on the back end? What does the business look like? What does the structure look like? Where did they have clients from before? I remember someone telling me, someone had launched like a personal development thing, and they were technically new to personal development. And my friend was like, they made millions of dollars. And I was like, they transitioned from a multi-deca-million-dollar business, used all their same contacts who have trusted them for 2 decades. And I was like, and launched something new. Of course they made millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, look at the background, look at the structure, look at where it's coming from. It's probably not an overnight success. It's someone who has put decades of work in and utilized that network, utilized that opportunity to create something. And so it's cool because it's like what you're sharing is accurate. Like, this is what it really looks like. This is what it looks like to start. This is how hard it is. This is how long it takes. And I'm curious too, because with all these dynamics and the things that you were juggling, what were some of the big lessons that you learned that were able to implement in the company today that has helped it with greater stability, greater structure? No way you didn't get some great nuggets from that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely been a lesson in perseverance and resilience, but also too is like you can only control what you can control, and I think that's probably been the biggest, one of the biggest things with it, is that not when you're a hammer, everything's a nail, and it's really about figuring out what fight isn't quite the right word, but whatever. You need to pick your battles. Some battles aren't worth having. Some are sort of are, and some you need to fight for whatever you're going for. But it's about realizing and being able to assess, hey, look, this isn't worth the effort. Let's just move on from this. Or, it really comes down to that persistence, that focus on yeah, that are worth fighting, battles that aren't. But then also as well with that is that staying focused and staying in your lane as to where you are, because it's really easy to go. And I was definitely guilty of this with starting the property management, starting the project management, and having the buyer's agency there. I was just lucky that the buyer's agency did enough revenue at the start to support the other two. Now the other two are standing on their own 2 feet, but that was probably a mistake that we made is we just went way too wide, way too early, rather than going, right, we're turning over $1 million on the buyer's agency. Let's start the property management. When that gets to $1 million, let's start the project management. So that was probably the other golden nugget too that came from it is that just because you have three businesses that do $300,000 a year doesn't mean that you make $1 million. That's not how it works. It's better to be narrow and go long than go wide and try and pull everything together. Because sort of as I said before, I could go back and relaunch them now and all three of them would be fine. But at the time I didn't have the skill or the resources to go and kickstart three off the ground. And so to rewind it back, I would have just got the buyer's agency, got that going to $1 million, right? Started the next one, then started the third one thereafter. In terms of context. But I think that's the same with any business where you hit a bit of a ceiling, then instead of solving for that problem, you go and look for the other shiny object because I reckon I can make another couple of $100,000 because that'll solve my profit problem. But the issue for your profit sits within the business that you've got and your constraint and your bottleneck there, rather than going out to try and find the other shiny thing that's just going to cause you more problems, employ more staff. Your margin is you're going to suck money from the thing that's sort of working into the thing that's not working. And then all of a sudden you've got two things that don't.
Yeah. And I'm curious now, because even as you guys start to move forward, when you say you have more of that narrowed focus, is like, what is the main focus now that you guys are looking at? And then is there something new that you're kind of slowly trying to roll out this time for the long term?
For my word that I wrote down for the year was like consistency and also nothing new. So like guilty of being, oh, that looks like a good thing, let's go off. And here's the reason why we had three from the start. But it's really this year's about going deep on the three services that we've got. The buyer's agency and the property management are key focuses. The project management it's an awesome service to have for our clients. It's not super profitable. It's a bit of a loss leader. But it transitions people across right the way through. So it's really about going deep on the other two. We'll see what happens with the project management over time. But rather than going and getting something else to add to it, going, hey, look, we're going to go and buy a plumbing business to go and support the property management. I think they wouldn't be particularly happy. But B, it wouldn't do us any favors as well. We'd end up going backwards rather than forward from the direction that we're at.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm curious because I remember we talked a little bit about even when you were first hiring individuals and you hired like really high cost talent a little bit too early and we're still like getting stuck doing the $20 an hour work. Like, why do you think that's such a common trap for individuals?
Yeah, for me, it was more so about like, how do I get myself out of delivery? But it comes down to the knowledge gap, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, is that you don't know what you don't know. And when you start out on the path and you think, right, if I can get someone to take care of this here, the delivery side of things, then that'll free me up to go and do the other stuff that I need to go and do. But the trap is your email becomes the to-do list for everyone else. You manage your own calendar. You're still doing the banking. And so it's those $20 an hour tasks that you're doing yourself, and you're paying someone else $30 or $40 an hour to go out and do, the delivery pieces which you should do. And so to run that back, if I was to, once again, to do it all again, the first person I get is an admin or an EA or a VA to take care of email, calendar, basic invoicing, that side of things, and then
Yeah.
train them up to then take care of like customer care. So
Mhm.
that, and then me stick to delivery, then get someone in once we got the admin stuff out of the way, then get someone in to take care of delivery, then get someone to take care of marketing, then sales
Mhm.
being the last one before you can strategically look at what you're doing. But I think the thing that people do, and once again, guilty as charged for this, when, if I get a salesperson, I'll just go and get a salesperson, I'll
Yeah.
pay them, 100 grand, and then we'll be off to the races because they'll do the sales. Um, but no one sells as well as the founder does at the start.
Yeah.
When you start, you haven't got the systems in place to let those people fly and do the things that they need to do, because generally it's all in your head. Um, but you're there chasing emails and doing the $10 or $20 an hour tasks that someone else should be doing, that's sort of lower skilled labor. And I think that's where everyone gets it, or not everyone, but a lot of people get it back to front when they're starting. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's cool. I can go to my local run club or to the pub or whatever it is that you do and go, oh, just brought a new sales guy on. It's not quite as cool to go, I just got myself a new admin person.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company.
That's awesome. My first hire was an admin, and it was the best thing I ever did for myself
Yeah.
because it was all the stuff I didn't want to do. But it was also before that someone, and I actually think they could have done it, and they're great and they're awesome. But they were like, I'm gonna get you like 100 leads every month, and you'll have like 100 sales calls. And all I thought to myself is, I have to organize that. I have to email it out. I have to structure it. I have to be on every call. I'm like, when am I going to do my actual job?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like my actual job is delivering a consultant and like a coaching service. I was like, I have no time with 100 calls. I was like, you need to get out of my life. Like, I'm not ready for that. But it's
Yeah.
true. It's like the salesperson would be last, but building the team that can actually manage that and having a structure around it, like that is my top priority first. Yeah, or else I'm just screwed.
It's really interesting though in terms of like personality
Yeah.
types. So like the admin person in the organization was like your first thing that you thought, hey, look, this is what I need to get sorted. For me, someone told me I was going to get 100 leads. Cool, great. We'll get the 100 leads, then we'll figure out how to deal with them at a later point once we've got them. And so yeah, it's just interesting
It's
from
funny, right?
yeah. Nate
Yeah.
would have said to me how we're going to structure this, and I would have gone, oh, it's all right. I've already hired them. We're getting 100 leads a
I'm your
month.
wife.
Then gone, "Well, how are we going to fix this?"
Yeah, I'm like, that's awesome. Someone else told me that who's working for us, and I was like, if you can figure out how to manage it, that's fine. I said, but I'm not giving up clients. I was like, I am not giving up my clients. I don't want that. But
Yeah,
it was like an either or thing. It was like, what do I have to give up to gain that? And what I had to give up would I would have had to give up some client time, and I did not want to give up client time. And to me, that
yeah,
was top priority. And my best form of business have been repeat and referrals. And I was like, I am not walking away from like my basically like A player clients to like have a
yeah,
bunch of rando sales calls like all
yeah.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the repeat and the referrals are the best clients you can get, and they're the
Yeah.
best sales calls you can ever have because they're warm, they're not cold. People coming through the door that you've got to try and warm up, and your close rates go down, and you become less efficient when you do that. And that's been one of the things that we've done is just build everything off referral base. We ran a whole lot of marketing at the start, and I just spent all my time on sales calls, and our conversion rates were really low, and we spent a heap of money on marketing. Um, but now that we're where we are and that everything's warm and referred, it just makes life so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm curious too, because I know in the beginning, I believe you tried some offshore support as well early on, but it didn't work out so well. But then later on, now it is working out. So what would you say is the difference? Like what changed to make it successful?
I think the big thing was that systems process guardrails for those people. The first couple of people that we had, lovely people. A big chunk of it was on me why they didn't work out was just because it was like, right, cool. You say you're an EA, or you say you're a VA, awesome. go and do some VA stuff. Let me know
Yeah.
how you get on. And then they wouldn't do anything. You're like, why haven't you done anything? Like, this is basic. Hey, is everything okay? You know what you're doing? Yeah, I know what you're doing. And culturally, for some of the offshore people, is like they're scared to tell you when they get things wrong. They're scared to say
Yeah.
they don't know. Like our team at the moment, our chief of staff, that's she oversees our Philippines team, is like, some of the previous experiences that the VAs over there have is like people just turn around when the next day and say you're fired. So they're very nervous when there's change. But now we've got structure in place for them to be like, look, this is your role. This is what you do. Here's the playbook for that. Here's the structure. This is what your role looks like. This is what we expect from you. And this is how we're going to go about things, as
Mhm.
opposed to day one, all the best. Here's my emails. Don't touch that one, but you can touch this one. I'll see you tomorrow. And then go, well, why is my inbox not being touched? Why haven't you replied to these emails? Because there was nothing in place for them at the start to get
Yeah.
that done.
And I think it's a really good point as well, is just having those standard operating procedures, processes in place. I did the same thing with my first one, and I'm gonna tell you, I had an A player, and I just screwed her up. It was all me, man. I look back at that, and I'm like, what went awry? And I look, and I said, you did not have a process in place. There was no SOP. I said, she got confused and she messed up and she didn't do her job because you didn't do it well. You didn't give her the right process. And again, she was an A player. And I said, and I just, at one point I was like, it's even too late. I can't even coach her out of this because I screwed it up so much. And I
Yeah.
was like, damn it, Carly, like, get it together, because it's hard to find people like that.
Yeah.
So I lost a great person as a result of just me not having documented processes and procedures. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's simple.
Really easy to do. A mentor that I had early on said to me, and I didn't understand it at the time. He's like, was much the same as me, higher sort of thinker rather than executor. And he's like, mate, you just need to get better processes and you get better people, better processes, better people, better processes, better people. It's just how it works. And he's like, where you're at the moment, you're never going to be able to employ, phenomenal people because you
Mhm.
haven't got the system or the process for them to follow. And for me, it was more so a case of I couldn't understand it at the time, and I still struggle from time to time now, because I'm
Mhm.
like, well, if someone just gave me free reign and said, hey, look, here's the big picture, this is what I want you to do, I need you to go and start this for me, let me know when you're done, I'd think it's the best job in the world. And I'd go out, do what I needed to do, come back to them, say, hey, look, I'm not sure about this, what do we do here? Yep, cool, go for it. But I figured out, or I suppose I learned the hard way, that there's very few people in the world that function like that. 99% of people are
Yeah.
like, here's the guardrails that you need to follow. Don't go outside of this one. Don't go outside of this one.
Yeah.
Here's the structure. Here's the process. This is how it works, which would drive me nuts. Um, but other people, unless you give that to them, don't sort of know where they stand.
Yeah, and I think the important differentiation distinction here is that if someone's doing that, they're probably going to leave and start their own company, like,
Yeah,
because they can. So why do they need to work for you?
yeah,
And that's
100%.
the reality. Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's difficult. I have one client who he's in the leadership team, but he gets paid very well on commission. And I will tell you, if that guy didn't get the commission that he got, this is like a sales dynamic, he'd be out of there and he'd have his own company because he could just do better. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. So it's kind of understanding that they require those guardrails. And I'm curious too. So this I think is a fun thing for people to hear, because I was
Yeah,
just talking to a company and they're doing quite well. They have 8 figures a year and they still don't have processes and standard operating procedures in place. And they were having a hiring problem. Exact thing as well. I said, you have to get it in place. I said, this is your gap. This is where you're losing like all these great people. You're not even able to train them up. You're not able to do anything. People really think in their head that creating processes will slow them down. First, they have to create it, so that stresses them out. And then they think about updating it and refining it and fine tuning it. Now, I know you know this. It's going to speed you up later.
yeah.
you know, um, share with people. I'd love for you to share like the real, like what it really looks like in action, on how it actually benefits, how it speeds things up, where it's not as difficult as people are sort of making it out to be in their head.
Yeah, cool. It used to be super difficult. to do them. Because at the time, before AI came along, I was like, how the heck am I going to do this? This just, it's going to take me forever. And the guy at the time was like, look, just get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just spend an hour on it, write everything down. Now with like we use Loom, we also use ClickUp as well. That's got the recording feature in it. So anyone that starts a new task just hits record, they do the task, and then they finish recording. The transcript goes to one of our offshore team. They put it into ChatGPT and say, create the playbook similar to every other playbook that we've created. And all of a sudden, within you're doing the task, so it's not going to take you away from it. But then you've got an end-to-end process as to what's happened. You've also got a video that other people can watch when they come on as training. So it's not just a case of the dusty book that used to sit on the shelf and no one ever pulled it out. And then what our team needs to do is when things change, like if the layout of, or we change software, or there's a specific layout that changes, or a step changes, it's just to go and re-record it. Them doing the thing. Once again, download the transcript, upload the transcript into GPT. It will come out with all the steps, upload the playbook back into the operating procedure, and it's updated, and the video is updated as well. But what it allows you to do is that, as I said before, it's around like the processes, then the people. That if someone comes on board, and I don't get questions anymore of like, how do I've just gone into Xero and I need to find out how to run the profit and loss for the rolling 12 months. Well, have you gone and looked at the procedure? Yeah, no, okay, I'll go back and run through there and I'll watch the video. You just don't get the same, like, knock on the door every 10 minutes. Oh, have you got a sec? Have you got a sec? Oh, I just need to ask you about how do you do this? What happens here? It's like there's the database for them to go and look at first. If that's not there, then come and see one of us and be like, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I can't find it anywhere. Cool, we'll record the video. We'll make the procedure. Kay will get it uploaded for us. And then we've got that in place. And it just speeds everything along the way, where people can go, oh, I know where I need to look to find the parts I'm doing. And I suppose for us at the moment, we've just started a new marketing position for us. And it's a little bit of everything else has been established for a little while. And so we're just going through the person at the moment is like, right, cool, here's a job description. Does a job description fit what you think? That's not quite right. I don't know about this and this. Okay, cool. Let's change that so that we can get this right. Then we work through that together. Cool. Here's the next process. Let's record it. Let's figure this out. Cool. Once that's sorted, we document it. We move on to the next. And so it's really about co-creating with those people when they come on board for new positions that you've never had before. And I think that's probably a bit of an ego thing as well. Also, just to be okay with sitting down with those new team members when you're creating positions that you've never had. It's just the same as the clients earlier. Look, this is the first time I've employed you. This is the first time we've had a videographer on this. This is what I think I want. This is what I think you can do. Can you do this? Is this going to get us to where we need to be? But let's just be transparent and honest here. This is the first time I've done this. You've got some experience. Let's work this through together to get us the end output. As opposed to, we work we're a dictatorship, but we work as a team. It's really about the working through those things to get them up to speed. Then if that person leaves at some point, you've got the roadmap for the next person to come in. And if it doesn't quite suit them, they've also got the freedom to alter and change those things as long as the outcomes remain the same.
Yeah, I love that. That was a great description. So I think just people kind of see it's really not, it's difficult, but also not that difficult. Like it's really something, especially present day with all of the new tools, the new software, AI, that we can really like fine tune and refine more quickly. And I think the other thing is when we're doing these things, it's like you just delegate to the person and people who are most also interested in doing this. Like whenever I ask someone in a company, because they're like, how am I going to do this? I'm not going to have time. And I just say, you don't. And I say, who are the people, the individuals, the person, the groups that love doing something like this? And immediately they start to think of people that have fun doing some project like this. And I'm like, great, put them in charge. Put them in charge and you oversee it. And then like, let them have fun because you're not enjoying this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing with like the Loom or the screen recording thing is like, you've only got to do it once more.
Yeah.
is like you've got to do it anyway as part of your job. You don't enjoy doing it. I get that. But just the next time you do it, hit screen record. And then once you push finish, just send the link to someone else that loves putting SOPs together
Yep.
and let them loose. And then be like, hey, look, here's the SOP. What do you think? Looks good to me. Whoever's going to do the job next, let's just check with them that they're good. What do we need to change in there? Are there some changes? Get them to change it, because
Yeah.
the other one doing it, not me. It's not as arduous as what it used to be.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I love that. And I know that you're also looking to expand more, right? You mentioned that you're considering going to the US next. So,
Potentially.
yes, but you're not starting from scratch this time.
No, no.
Yeah. So what made you decide that the US was a possible market that you'd love to transition into?
I think the thing for the US is that it's got population. So like I've got a friend that lives down in Dallas, and he's like, look, there's 8 million people here in one city. You've got 5 million across, 13, I don't know what it is in miles. We'll call it 1,000 miles. You've got 5,000 people that are spread across that distance. Oh, sorry, 5 million. We've got 8 in one city. And so I think it's about that. It's also about, the New Zealand dollars at about $1.65. So that if I can go and earn $1 million, it's 1.6 New Zealand. And so it's things like that if we can get ourselves out. We've also got a really good system now. But as we were sort of saying before, is that I couldn't have done it 5 years ago. Whereas now, if we were to go and do it, it would be like we just need to go and buy an existing company that's got 300 doors that we've got a foothold in. We've got some people there. We've got some revenue coming in. This wouldn't be a bootstrapped shift. There would need to be something in place, but you can't do that when you first start to go. I'm just going to go and spend $1 million on something new when you haven't got the capital to do it, and you probably wouldn't run it particularly well anyway. At least now we've got an offshore team. We've got our systems in terms of how we run. Yeah, there's some different legislative stuff that happens between the two, and some different licensing and things like that we need to sort out. But the basics are there. That if we've got our system here, we can translate it to there with some tweaks. And then we've got our, how our people run, how our structure runs, and then we just replicate as opposed to trying to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, that'll be exciting, and very exciting next step, but not this year because
Not this
nothing
year.
new.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for coming today. This has been really fun. This has been really enjoyable, very informative. And I'd love for you to share where people can find you, which I'll also put in the show notes, just in case they're listening and can't write it down.
Yeah, awesome. No, best place to contact me is on Instagram, at Hadley Nightingale there. And yeah, I've got any queries or questions, happy to have a chat through the DMs, and go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you again for this. If anyone really enjoyed it, feel free to share with someone who you would also think would be inspired by it. And thank you again, Hadley. This was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. Really enjoyed it.